Welcome back, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Hannah Hussein. I'm an IFBB Pro female bodybuilder. And on this channel, we talk about all things PEDs and bodybuilding without filters. And today I have Lexa. She has decided to grace us today. She is the first female bodybuilder to accept coming on the podcast and talking openly about PED usage and some of her experiences. So, Lexa,
Hey guys, I'm happy to be on the show. I'm definitely real and raw and unfiltered. So, if I can give any personal experience or any sort of like advice to anybody, that would be great. Or just to entertain, you know what I mean? I'm very much open and honest about stuff.
you've done a interview with somebody else that you guys were talking about PED usage and you asked him to take it down. Can I ask you why?
So the reason that I had the guy take it down, this was like years ago too. This was like what, 4 almost 5 years ago, and the only reason that I had him take it down is because it's very like vulgar. It almost like he literally put Lexa Stahl steroids in like capitalized letters, and it's like if I'm gonna go on and be honest about like my usage and my experience and stuff, I don't want to be like plastered
Yeah.
like an ad for like steroids or something. That's like
Yeah.
I just didn't like the way it looked. Like I didn't like that you could search my name, and that was years ago. And so things were a bit different then. Now I care less about what people think. I'm more open about things, I guess you can say so now, because like I said, that was like 4 to 5 years ago.
What age were you when you started?
I started my first cycle, I think I was like 19.
Yeah.
So I just did 10. I actually I didn't even do 10 milligrams of Anavar. I was too scared to do 10, because I was told it was pretty strong, which is good.
Yeah, that's
So I did 5 milligrams, and I split the pill like so much, like to where it was like just breaking in powder almost. I cut it up into as small pieces as I could, and I was taking like 2.5 milligrams in the morning and 2.5 milligrams at night. It helped me achieve a weight that I never thought I would ever see. I you utilize stuff more so for a few years, and then I definitely started backing off a lot more
yeah.
in the past like 3 years is when I really backed off of stuff. So
Do you remember what drove you to want to be super muscular?
seeing women, you know what I mean? Like seeing women on Instagram, like jacked women. I remember the first time I saw a jacked girl, it was like on Tumblr or something, like so many years ago. And I was like, damn, I want to look like that. I really wanted to just get some curves. And then as soon as I started going to the gym, I mean, I started dieting hard from like day one gym. It was like the first time I went to the gym, my diet was already like on point. I was researching so much, like junior year of high school. I would just like sit in class and like read about like macros and nutrition and watch people's workouts on YouTube. And what started out for me is like, oh, I want to gain some muscle. Obviously, I enjoyed that progress. So I was like, I want to get bigger. I want to get bigger, you know what I mean? But I knew I never wanted to be like massive, you know what I mean? Like,
You and I kind of started in the same, well, in the same like age group, but for you, you grew up with Instagram, right? Like, because
yeah,
you
I
know me.
did. Yeah. I
Okay.
grew up with all the social medias.
And so I don't remember that, like, I never was exposed to what people are exposed to now, in their younger years. I was
Yeah.
never exposed to, all these crazy physiques online all the time. Back then, the internet was so different than it is now. I didn't, it wasn't on the feed all the time.
Nowadays, like the kids nowadays, like they have it rough because like
That's what I was gonna
if
say.
they're looking up like fitness stuff, and if their explore page like looks like mine.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because like, we all struggle with our self-esteem, and I'll go to my explore page because, it knows I interact with women a lot. I follow a lot of women, and I'm just like, geez, like my explore page, I feel bad for like, the younger generations, because it's like, while I did grow up on social media, things were different then, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't trying to show you all these things constantly.
I get approached in the gym and online all the time by young people that are looking up to me for my physique. It didn't feel right, because it's almost like I'm unintentionally promoting this, which I love my life. At this point, I wouldn't change it. I would have done things differently earlier, right? But I wouldn't change my life. I feel like it fits me. But at the same time, I know that the choices that I have made are not going to be right for other people. They're going to struggle with it. They're knowing that I was kind of feeding into that, knowing that I was feeding into possibly promoting somebody taking steroids that wouldn't normally. They hadn't seen my physique online or in person, if they would have been more happy with the way they looked. That's kind of like what inspired me to build my first YouTube video.
It just shows compassion and empathy, which is nice. Because I do worry about that. Like, I don't want someone to look at me and be like, "Oh, I wish I could get a physique like that," and then they think that the answer is taking things, but in reality, genetics are huge. You know what I mean? And then also, the side effects, which I'm sure you and I will go into. It's like the consequences of taking stuff is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. Would it have changed anything for you if you saw a woman talking about the real side effects, like not just glute workouts, but like talking about day to day? Would it have changed anything for you?
That's a great question. I think maybe a little bit. I think if a trusted woman who's in the position that I would want to be in one day, if she told me to be patient and, if so and so, like, don't take gym bro advice,
Yeah.
maybe hire a coach you trust. Of course, that's the first thing everyone says, but then look at some of the dosages these coaches are pushing.
Yeah.
I'd say, you know what I mean? I would love for her, I guess, to say is like, be patient. If you're going to do something, start really, really small.
I think it would have definitely made me hit the brakes more if someone would have said, "Hey, you might be living in chronic pain in the future." I think that's what would have gotten through to me.
When you're young and you're hungry and you're like, fuck it, I want to take this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like the voice changes didn't really bother me. I was like, it's a voice. Like the if my face changed, my hair changed, I didn't really care, right?
Yeah,
But
that's crazy. I think I had like little tiny portions of that in prep,
yeah.
but I was always definitely very scared of losing hair, which, you know, so blessed that I have not. You have a lot of hair too.
I did have really, really thick hair before I started taking PEDs, like because I'm Italian and Arabic. It was thick and beautiful, and people used to think I wore extensions all the time, and I didn't. And then the past, probably since 2019, since I got with Shelby Sarnes and he had me on a bunch of E blockers, my hair just started falling out.
But I was always scared of the hair loss and the
Yeah.
and the face changes and stuff. And especially now, like I hold my long hair to such high value because it's something that keeps me feminine.
Yeah.
And I want to stay feminine, you know what I mean? We all do, you know what I mean? But I'm sure that all of us ladies who have competed or been in prep at one time or another,
Yeah.
for a second, you're in the moment. You're like, I don't care. You know what I mean? I want to make these fucking gains. So
Comparison of PED usage, good and bad. So let's start getting into the side effects because that's what everyone wants to know is like what side effects,
course, yeah.
what are the side effects, what are the good and bad?
Yeah.
Let's answer that one first. Comparison of PED usage effects, good and bad, taking dosages and cycles. I went over my full history, and if no one's seen that, I've done a full video of my full history of PEDs. But do you remember what you have taken?
So when I first started, of course, I just did Anavar for probably 2 or 3 years or whatever, and of course I'd cycle on and off. And then where I really experienced the side effects, obviously I seen the Anavar side effects right away. I was actually,
It, yeah.
still in my teen years, so I got acne, I got the moon face,
Okay.
I got, the and heightened sex drive, the clit sensitivity, of course. Um, I would say that's probably it there, and then my voice a little bit, but nothing crazy. Where my voice really did change completely, like day to night, was when I prepped in 2019. I did a 40 milligram a week cycle of EQ. 40 milligrams is like, a very, and plus Primo probably would have been a much better option, but I know Primo is very commonly faked. And I was also taking 2 IUs of real HGH.
Hmm.
And I mean, that prep was awesome. I looked so good. That was the year I won shows. But that was the summer that I prepped, and my voice just, and people around me were like, your voice, it's changing. You know what I mean? That was really like where I seen the most jump. And 40 milligrams of an injectable is quite a small dose. I
Yeah.
mean, it really is a small
Yeah,
dose.
compared to what, because you and I know a lot of people, when I went over my cycles, and I don't know if you watched that video, but the first one, first coach just should have never been a coach. But as I continued to compete and I started working with, more well-known coaches that have current and still currently have Olympians that are very popular coaches. I mean, these are the ones that you're going to see over and over again. My cycles, like, they're not unheard of in the industry. And
Oh,
but
I bet. Yeah.
to the masses, right? The people that are outside of this competing bubble, the bodybuilding bubble, it sounds insane, but it's not. It's in some of mine were conservative, like 40 milligrams of
Hmm.
equipoise. That is super conservative.
Oh yeah, that's a good like I mean I'm no expert, I'm no coach, so we're not giving medical advice here, obviously, which you'll disclaim, but like that's a solid that's a dosage that you would it's comparable to like something like 5 or 10 milligrams of
Yeah, no
NMR.
one's gonna
You know
bat
what
an
I
eye.
mean?
In the bodybuilding bubble, no one is gonna bat an eye if she were to say, yeah, I did 40 milligrams of equipoise and 10 milligrams of Anavar or whatever. No one's gonna bat an eye at that in the bodybuilding community, you know. But
Yeah,
outside
of
of it, people are like, oh my God,
course.
did you decide you wanted to do equipoise, or was that a coach telling you to try it?
I think I had decided with research, watching a lot of YouTube videos, reading a lot of forums and stuff like that. I wanted to do an injectable, and then like a couple of years later, for my next prep, I ran primo, and I think I ran, at the most 100 milligrams a week or so. It's funny because last time I saw you, um you could tell you were like you told me you were like you look lean, you just look natural because I didn't have the hardness in the abs, I didn't have veins much, I
Yeah.
didn't have like the pumpkin little shoulders, and even my glutes won't be as round as if I'm taking a little bit of Anavar. And it's like that you put it into such good like perspective because I'm like, I don't feel lean, I don't feel hard. And it's like, well, you are lean. You just don't have that full muscles than I do with a little bit of Anavar. So I do, my 10 milligrams of Anavar cycles, usually once a year in the summer.
The next question is red flags to look out for in coaches.
I
Um,
feel like I feel like if a coach like wants you to get on something, then that's like weird. Like I feel like a lot of coaches, which I've worked with 3 different bodybuilding coaches. They were all great. They were good. They were good in my opinion. But they were all the types to be like, okay, like what do you want to take? Like what do you want? And I think that that's a green flag is them asking you what you want first. Everybody gets a little bit greedy with taking stuff. So you're like, oh, look at this 5 milligrams of Anavar. Damn, my abs look hard. I'm looking good. I'm making progress. I'm feeling strong. I'm horny. I'm feeling good. And then you're like, well, maybe I should do 10. And then it's just a bad slippery slope. So I feel like if you're not already taking stuff and a coach tells you to take something, huge red flag. Plus
yeah.
a lot of these coaches, and I hate to say a lot, okay, some of these coaches are weird. Some of these coaches are weirdos. They want girls on stuff because they're
That
freaking weird.
honest,
So be careful.
that's what I really think what happened with my first coach is because and I didn't even realize this until a bunch of people brought it up after I made, the video about my PED history, and they were like, "Where did you get the money for?" Because steroids are not cheap. Where did you get all this money being that young? I didn't. I didn't pay for it. He paid for
Oh my
everything.
God.
He
Yeah,
never
that's
charged
so
me for
rare. That's like
coaching
steroid sugar daddy weirdo. Yeah,
because
that's
this is
uh
also a fetish. People, I mean, there's plenty of people that I'm sure do realize bodybuilding, female bodybuilding, male bodybuilding too, it's a fetish. My first coach was, I think he had a fetish, a growth fetish, and
Was
that,
he like local or did you meet him online?
no, he was local. I met him
Okay.
in person at a gym when I was young. He approached
Oh
me,
God. Of
and
course he did.
I didn't pay him a dime. And
Yeah.
so,
And then
but
I feel like a local coach approaching you in the gym could also be a red flag
yo,
because
that's
they
a huge.
see you,
I
they
think any
check you
coach.
out, they're just like, I want to get this girl. I want to coach her. Like,
In my opinion, it doesn't matter even if it's like a cordial, like, hey, I would love to coach you. Hey, you have a potential, whatever. I think that's a red flag no matter what. If they're reaching out to you,
yeah.
that's a red flag.
I think it could be mostly a red flag, but there might be one instance where maybe someone sees that you're with Like for example, I actually had a coach. I was at a show backstage, and he coaches Olympians, female Olympians, and he was like he could tell that I could look better maybe, and he would just like introduce himself or whatever. So I would find that as a bit of like maybe questionable, maybe not.
Yeah.
That's a bit better than someone hitting you up on IG.
Well, yeah, no, I don't mean like a coach just introducing themselves
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure.
whatever.
Yeah,
That's not a red flag. But if they're directly, if they're messaging you or seeking you out and are saying things like, I would love to coach you or giving you discounts, to me, that's a red flag. And both those
yeah,
things have happened to me. And it absolutely, they absolutely had their own agendas of as to why they wanted to coach me. So
for
that's what
sure.
I would consider.
Yeah, definitely a lot of red flags. So
The next question is stigma around bodybuilding for women, because you and I deal with it probably every day, at least online every day.
I feel like I don't get many hateful comments much anymore, but I think part of it is like me not competing right now, not getting to that level of leanness, not looking juiced up, not being all hard, jacked, and shredded. You know what I mean? So my content has changed a little bit over time.
Yeah.
But of course, I get people who tell me I look like a man and all that. Sometimes I'll get weird comments on Instagram, and it's like, you follow me. Why are
Yeah.
you following me if I'm so repulsive?
Yeah.
Block me.
I think it's interesting that people automatically just think it's a political statement, but
Yeah, I should go read all the comments and just be like, what the hell?
well,
That's so silly. It's not like it's you're newly muscular and newly
yeah,
trying to
and I
promote this muscularity as a like hidden agenda to fuel this opinion you have or something like that. It's like, what? You're like, I've
yeah,
been working out for like over 10 years. Like,
and I think I need to make a video on that because I think some people assume that I'm like new and I just started PEDs like a couple years ago and now I have all this regret and that's why
yeah.
I'm making these videos. No, I've been doing this for over 10 years and well before I ever had a social media following. So it's like,
Yeah, I don't even know how it could be pushed politically because I guess I could see like both sides of different sides coming at you about something. So I'm just
yeah.
kind of like, that's interesting.
But it is what I mean, I'm so used to being judged at this point that it's just kind of like,
You're like, that's a new one.
yeah.
That's a
That is
new
a new
one. So
one.
I'll
That
take
is, I
it.
will give
Yeah.
them that. That is a new one.
Yeah, that's creative right there. Apparently, they really ran with that. So props to
But
them for being creative.
this is kind of along the same lines. Talk about the judgment you guys get from doing something that you love. I don't know. For me, the type of judgment I get is almost exclusively online. I don't run into a lot of judgment in person. I don't remember the last time somebody actually said something about my voice or negative about my face. I get approached pretty often in person, like, "Hey, what do you do what do you do for your back or whatever?" Negative judgment, I don't deal with a lot of in person. Online,
Yeah,
it's a
no,
different
I
story.
don't think I ever have, to be honest. I'd say the worst has come to it is like if you're on the phone with like like a
And they
business
think
or
you're a dude.
something and they say sir and I'm just like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm a dude, yeah, whatever. And
I've gotten
it
that.
used to get to me and I would start trying to talk more feminine on purpose. But yeah, I don't get any rude people in person. People are not going to be rude in person. They're going to hide behind a screen or they're going to type, hide behind their phone, whatever.
How's our dating life? And do we only date other muscular people? Like, do we only date big guys? I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I guess in early on in like my bodybuilding career, I was like into like big muscle man. I was like, yeah,
Were you really?
oh yeah, I was like big jacked guys, like yeah, yeah, yeah. But as I've gotten older and matured, I don't care. Like, yeah, I don't want you to be some twerp who doesn't push their body in any way, but like I'm just open-minded. Like as long as somebody like has a sport, as long as the man has a sport or like a goal, a physical goal, as long as you have something that you like to push your body with. But I guess I've never been in that scenario. I've never been with a guy who's, 15 pounds less than me. So like maybe that would change because that does make you feel I would say the reason why muscular women tend to go for men more muscular than them or at least equivalent is because we don't want to be men. We want to feel feminine. We don't want to be fucking towering over this dude and have arms 4 times the size of his. So most women, to answer that question, honestly, most women want a man who's at least a little bit bigger and stronger than them. But I've gotten open-minded enough to where I think I could be with a man who's like equivalent in size as long as he pushes his body. He has to be like, in the gym training hard. Most women are going to be with want to be with a man who's at least a little bit bigger than them.
I have never had a preference. I feel like I've been attracted to everything.
That's
And
fair. I can understand that.
and
Yeah.
you've seen because you've kind of seen some of the, some of the guys that I've dated.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not, most of them have not been in shape in any way. I mean, Jake happens to be the outlier though.
Yeah.
So, now that people have seen him on my channels and stuff, they're like, oh, I get asked this all the time, do you only date muscular men? And I'm like, he's the only muscular man I've really dated. He's the only bodybuilder that I've ever dated. It's
Yeah.
before him, it
What
was,
about a guy that, okay, you're only like you're like 5'1", right? What if a guy was like 5 foot and like 120 pounds? Could you date him?
if, I mean, if let's say I've never met Jake because Jake is like my person, right? I could literally be attracted to any anything. I have been attracted to guys smaller than me and bigger than me. And so it's like to me it more has to do with how we connect.
Yeah, personality, intellect. I could totally agree with that. Yeah.
I've never been the type of person that just looks at somebody and finds them attractive, you know?
Yeah, I can understand. And that's why, for me, it's like, oh, like I just want them to enjoy the act of pushing their body at something so that we can have that intellect and that
Yeah.
like-mindedness of like, oh, you like to, well, she likes to lift weights. Well, he likes to run.
You still have to put in effort to be muscular, whether you're a man or a woman. So when I see muscular men, I can objectively be like, oh, they have a nice looking physique, or oh, like I can respect that, but it doesn't, so it stops cutting us off.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. I get it. Oh my God, yeah. I was like, yep, there you go.
So we ended on before the video cut out, we ended on
You were talking about, yeah, how it doesn't really matter. It doesn't translate over to a like for a guy as the physique.
yeah, so to me it doesn't matter if the guy is muscular or not. I have to have a connection to be romantically attracted to somebody or physically attracted to somebody. I've got to have that like, that mental thing. So
For
because
sure.
we got so many questions of are you mostly into guys who are more muscular than you? Do you only date male bodybuilders? Are you submissive? We could answer the submissive, dominant kind of thing because
Okay.
if you want to.
I'm definitely, so I'm switch for sure, but I definitely lean more dominant.
Really?
Oh yeah, but I do love being submissive, but because it's like fun and it's different, but no, I definitely lean more dominant and I've
Yeah.
always been like that, even before muscle. So,
I feel like I'm a switch too, but I lean more submissive. Like I'm way more
yeah,
comfortable just
being told what to do. Yeah. I'm very controlling and definitely, yeah, definitely more dominant.
a lot of people they see the muscle and they're like, they assume you're dominant, which I absolutely can be. I can be surprisingly dominant, but it has to be in the right scenario.
For sure.
Like my instincts but I have to feel safe too. Like I have to feel safe to be submissive. I think that's another thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, just trust for sure.
Because I'm not like
Let
I
that
can't be like that.
vulnerability.
Yeah, I can't be like that to just anybody. It more lean towards submissive doesn't mean that somebody can just be like, come up to me and like tell me what to do. I'll tell
Yeah,
you,
yeah, of course. Yeah,
kick
yeah, of
rocks.
course.
You know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Another part of that question was, do we have trouble dating? In my experience, I don't. Like, at least I don't feel like I have. Not to be like, I'm not trying to be arrogant here, but there's always been at least a couple guys chasing me. I have
Yeah.
not experienced that personally.
Yeah, I mean, if someone was like, "You're too muscular for me to date you," it's like, okay, like, why are you even talking to me then? Or maybe there are plenty of guys out there. They're like, "Oh, I find her very attractive, but like, she's too jacked for me." And then it's like, okay, cool. Then we probably won't even talk. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We won't even chat or do anything. So no, I haven't had any difficulties dating.
Yeah.
if I did it as like an experiment and I like went up and just pursued all these different men
We should
on
do that
a
as an
on a
experiment.
regular basis, I'm sure I would get turned down a lot. They'd be like, "You're fucking scaring me." I'd be like, "Yeah, you know what I mean?" But and that's fine. I wouldn't take that as a rude thing. It's just a preference thing. I mean, they might be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I like more petite girls." And I respect that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like everyone has their preference, but
You and I are definitely on the same page there because I've seen the stuff online where women are like, oh, if you're not into if you're not into muscle, then there's something wrong with you or whatever. That's, it's
yeah,
so
that's silly.
weird
That's
to
so
say.
dumb to say.
Yeah, the
If
human
people are
psyche.
like, I don't like muscle on women, I'd be like, I understand. I
Yeah,
totally
me
get it.
too.
Yeah.
Has preferences, and you are entitled to yours.
Yeah, and
And
if you think it's ugly, that's fine, but
yeah,
don't like put it in our face and be like, you're disgusting.
yeah,
It's like, get away from me then. Like I've said, it's like I so respect people's opinions. If they think muscle on women is disgusting and like repulsive, then it's like cool, you don't have to look at me.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I
exactly.
respect their opinions as long as they don't try to like fight me about it.
Next question. Which by the way, do you have any questions that you wanted to answer? Yeah.
You could ask every single girl in the world who has experience taking the same dose and same compound, and I guarantee you one of them might have one of the side effects, and then not the next might have none of that. You know what I mean? So everyone has a different reaction.
So I don't know if you answered this, but you've only been on two compounds, Anavar and
Oh
EQ.
no, and then I said Primo as well and
Oh, okay, okay,
HGH.
okay,
Yeah, and then other than that, I did take a small dose of Winstrol as well.
okay.
But I wasn't a fan of that because I just didn't see it as necessary. And so yeah, everything Anavar, Equipoise, HGH, Primo, Winstrol, obviously not all at the same time, people.
Yeah.
Throughout different years, different dosage. Um, yeah, and then I've tried pharmaceutical grade HGH and generic HGH.
So
Just,
are you
you know,
completely off everything right now?
I'm taking 10 milligrams of Anavar.
Okay, okay. So, and do you
So
kind of do that like year round, or do you just come on and off of it?
I come on and off. So I usually will do like 2 cycles a year, it just depends. And and they're honestly according to what I have going on. So like I just recently went on like a vacation and so I wanted to look hard and shredded in my fucking bikini. So yeah, the past 3, 4 years I've just done 10 milligrams of Anavar cycles for 6 to 8 weeks, of the year. I don't know. I'm not like worried about it like I used to be because it is hard as a woman to, and men as well, of course, all of us that take stuff and then we see the changes when we get off. But
Yeah.
and so I'm like, oh, my abs or your shoulders look a little bit different. I'm like, they'd look if I was on cycle, but I'm just like, whatever. Like, it is what it is.
How long has it
Hard.
been
And so
since you've taken an injectable?
2020 or 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been
Oh
a
wow.
while. Oh,
So
someone says, How big a role does body dysmorphia play in the decision to use PEDs?
I think it depends on who you're asking, because for some people, body dysmorphia could be the main driver of why someone would want to take PEDs. And that's just my opinion, but there's other factors. I think once you get on the PED train and you're in this bubble of, these crazy physiques, it absolutely can create body dysmorphia if you didn't already have it.
Yeah, I think any bodybuilder has some degree of body dysmorphia. And I stated earlier that a lot of times people use PEDs emotionally, and that's so easy to do that. Because sometimes I'll see a girl with like big ass wellness legs, and it's like, God, that's like I can try my hardest, and it's like my legs are never gonna look like that unless I take a bunch of shit, essentially. Mentally, too, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the mental side effects of steroids, like a degree of rage or more anger, or you're just a bit more testy because you're taking this compound that, your body really is not used to, and that's something I feel like a lot of people don't talk about because it's shamed on.
Do
And
you
it's like
experience that? Have you ever experienced like
I feel like if I'm on a cycle, I'm definitely more aggressive or just more like quickly annoyed.
I've never had like roid rage where I just like
You
lost it.
freak out. Yeah.
Like I've never had
Yeah.
that, but definitely my fuse gets a little bit shorter and I'm
Mm.
irritated with things a little bit faster.
And yeah, and maybe like, other certain things like sleep and stuff like that. It can definitely affect the sleep, which is bad, because that's your recovery. That's your recovery time.
Because I know people are going to ask this. The side effects that you and I have in common is our voices would be the most obvious, right?
Yeah.
Freaking get asked this all the time. I get this asked this every day. What when the clit grows, the clitoris
Hmm.
grows. And then sex drive. How is our sex drive different on versus off cycle?
I feel like when you first start taking stuff on your first like handful of cycles, I feel like that's where you see the sex drive increase a
Hmm.
lot. Cause I remember like my first couple cycles, I was just like, yeah, this is awesome,
Yeah.
burning all those extra calories and all that type of stuff. But I feel like as you continue taking more stuff, it's not always, it definitely enhances it being on versus off. But that initial first couple cycles is definitely like where you see the libido raise the highest and the fastest.
For me,
um
sex drive has always been high since I can remember.
I
The
feel you,
difference
yeah.
the difference that steroids made was that it made it more enjoyable with other people. And because, I didn't have much downstairs and now I do, it's easier to be stimulated.
Easier to find
And so
it,
it's more
yeah.
fun to enjoy sex with other people, for me anyway. But
Me, it was like the first handful of cycles definitely saw even more of an increase, which was awesome.
yeah.
And then the clit enlargement, I feel like a lot of people think a lot more than it is.
Yeah.
Um, and it also depends what you look like genetically before. I have not gotten to anywhere near the point of like what I think is like
Big.
grossly too big. I've definitely seen it online, like, or stuff, or I've seen other women, and I'm just like, damn, girl, like you're packing that thing. You know what I mean? But it all just depends what you look like previously, because there
Yeah.
are some girls who barely had a clit and then they started some Anavar and it's just like, oh hey, I'm a little bit bigger now, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
not
turn into a wiener
gross.
like overnight.
Yeah, oh my God, no way. People are so funny. It all just depends what you look like previously, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or how you respond or how much you're taking.
It
Like, no
varies
way.
so much. And if you just go looking online, there's
That's
plenty of
not
pictures.
gonna
But you're also,
represent, yeah.
yeah, you're gonna see tons of different sizes. Yes, they can get pretty big, but typically we're not talking about like wiener level here. It's just bigger
Yeah.
than it
Like
was
you're not
before.
gonna measure that thing with a ruler. Yeah, like no way.
But taking steroids, you truly don't know what you're gonna get. Like you don't know, like you could have the genetics for it absolutely turning massive. You never know. I feel like you and I are kind of similar because, um, our voices were pretty affected by it. You can see androgen face most of the time, right?
For
Like a
sure.
lot
Like
of
your
people say,
jawline is not thick at all, and neither is mine. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
But I also started out like when I was younger and before steroids, I was more narrow. But even then, I don't feel like it has changed the shape of my face terribly too much. I feel like the brunt of my side effects has been my voice. And then,
Yeah.
the cystitis would probably be the second one that I would put up at like, if I was rating severity of side effects of how drastic of a change of what steroids has done to me, my number one would be the voice, and then number two would actually be cystitis because of
Yeah.
how drastically it can alter your life.
For sure. Mine would definitely, yeah, be the voice. And then after that, I would say like hair growth.
Hmm.
Because, which I feel like a lot of women unfortunately experience like the hair loss on the head, but then they're growing hair in other places that
Yeah.
they aren't used to growing hair. What about like facial hair for you? Like, have you gotten like a little bit of stubble and stuff
Oh
like that?
yeah, yeah. But I've had that removed too,
So
and
you've gotten the laser. Okay.
yeah,
I was before I started taking steroids, when I was like 18, 19, it's like I wasn't getting it then, so I would attribute it to the steroids, but that's not something I don't consider that. I mean, it does suck. Like if I don't, because like it literally takes me like 2 seconds to shave. I'm just like one, two, three. You know what I mean? And I know I'm gonna get hate for it. And so yeah. Other than that, I'd say I'd say the most severe side effect for me is definitely voice. I mean, that's consequences. Of course you're gonna get side effects. Um, and then I'd say like mental as well has been like, just I feel like steroids are not great mentally. But obviously, I'm still young and I don't know what damage I've caused that could show up in 10 years. So I'm not saying I'm perfect and healthy, just saying, I guess, about the more visual or like vocal side effects.
Yeah. I do have a question that I've gotten quite a lot. First place, like, why did we choose to start bodybuilding?
Mine was just because I was really just low self-esteem my entire life because I was so skinny. So I was like always the friend that like people would be like, "Oh, like you're so skinny." And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to build those curves. You know what I mean? And I saw this muscular woman on Tumblr one night when I was like 15 and I was like, "Damn." I was like, "She's got like a big booty, but like she's not fat." And I've always been a person who's like wants to be in control and wants to do things my way.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding and going to the gym was something that I could completely control. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. We're a little bit similar in that. I think for me, it was more control, and because you and I, we both grew up skinny. I was under 100 pounds too before I started steroids. I was always the small one. I was the smallest out of my friend group. I was
Yeah, I
tall,
was so
right all the
skinny.
time.
I feel like I don't know weight, but I was probably like a good, like 20 pounds smaller than a lot of my friends. And when you're that small and young, 20 pounds is a lot.
Yeah, being too small almost turned into a risk that I was taking for my own safety. And so it turned into me wanting to like protect myself. That's how
Like a
it originally.
capability thing. Yeah, totally. I knew I had a strong mentality and personality and like a dominating type of personality always.
Yeah.
And I was like, my body just does not match the way that I feel like I want to be and who I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to change it. That's the cool part about a body is you can change it. So,
Yeah, that is
how
scary.
old were you when you
No.
started working out?
I had been athletic most of my life. Like I did gymnastics from like I want to say 10 or 11 to my teens. But I started weight training at 16.
Okay.
My story starts with a magazine. That's what I've always told. Like every time I've done a podcast, people are like, "Oh, how did you get into bodybuilding?" And my story has always started with me seeing a magazine at a grocery store that I worked at, which is true, but that's not the the whole story. The whole story, there was a lot that happened in my early life that led me to wanting to be hypermuscular and strong. But the magazine is what put it all together because I had not seen a muscular woman up until I saw that magazine. It was like an old muscle, like Flex magazine. You remember when those used to be around? Or
I
maybe,
guess I've seen
oh,
them, but
maybe
I
you're
don't
too young for it.
remember.
But
Like,
I
I'm too
remember when,
young. Yeah.
but when I remember when when I was younger, those were still around but like we were talking about earlier, I wasn't on social media at that time. So that was my first real exposure to a muscular woman, just like put all the pieces
It
together.
just made all the sense. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of how it was for me when I saw the girl on Tumblr. I was like, I've always wanted to be like strong and
for
capable.
me it was like seeing her, this muscular woman. I think I found out who she was too. I think she follows me on Instagram
Oh,
now.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But I looked at it and one, I thought muscle looked super cool on anybody. And then two, I was like, I bet nobody messes with her. Someone actually, um, and I don't know if I even want to keep this question in here, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Someone said, "Is it common that females are sexually assaulted and then turn to bodybuilding in order to become strong?" Which is a fair question because
Yeah, I
I see
think
a lot of it.
totally.
Yeah.
Because you dealt with a time in your life that you weren't able to control anything and things were maybe done to you or whatever that you couldn't control and you couldn't fight
Yeah.
and you couldn't take care of yourself. So then, eventually you turn to bodybuilding because you're in control, you get strong. There's definitely a lot of women who look the strongest now have probably dealt with shit that they don't want to deal with again. And that's why they are, appear and are as strong as they are today.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a strong driver for a lot of us, and it's a form of control,
for
controlling
sure.
your environment, controlling what you're seen as, I know that was a big one for
Absolutely. Yeah,
me.
like you don't want to be seen as weak. You look like a
Yeah.
target because that's how I would look. Like I would be like, I want to be strong, not skinny. I want to be strong, not skinny.
Okay, this will be probably the last question is, what personal advice would you give to young athletes or people wanting to get into bodybuilding or maybe considering PEDs?
I would definitely say like don't get on stuff right away, obviously. Train hard and get the lifestyle for at least some years, at least before you even consider. Never ever take steroids if someone else is recommending them. Like, if you feel like you're being peer pressured into taking it, that's a red flag. Just like we spoke about with the coaches. Like if someone's coming to you, hey, have you ever tried Anavar? It's like, like trying to push drugs to people. It's like that is just insane. I would never do that. Even if there's even been girls years ago that would come up to me in the gym and they're on or I want Anavar from you. And I'm like, girl, how long have you been coming to the gym? A month? Okay. And like, are you even dieting? What are your long-term goals? Do you want to compete? Do you want to get big? Are you ready for the consequences? Are you ready for the side effects? Because they will come and they won't go away ever. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people just see the hot side of it, and that's why it's really great what you're doing, just being honest about stuff because people don't want the hate. I've totally said things on this that we're gonna get a ton of hate for, or I'm gonna get a ton of hate for, or whatever, and that's fine. But I'd say be patient. If you do decide to take something, only take it because you want to. 'Cause I feel like a lot of people just jump in and they don't give it the proper amount of thought and they're not ready for the consequences. And then when they do start taking something, they get way too impatient and they ruin their entire fucking life because they decided to take too much stuff. So I'd say it's really the question of why do you want to do it? What are you going to do with it? And are you prepared for the consequences and side effects? Know what you're getting yourself into and, make sure you have a really solid foundation before you start.
Yeah, and because, there's not a lot of like real life examples out there. You're one of the first people that has agreed to come on here and be transparent about, what you've taken and your life. A lot of women they don't want the negativity, they don't want to put themselves out there
I
at
don't
the
blame
gym.
them because I already know a lot of the comments on here are going to be like so mean, but I'm ready for it.
But
Go for it.
it's important because more and more
Yeah.
people are getting in, and it's younger and younger. It's younger and younger. It's freaking teenagers, it's like 16. I think I saw the other day a 16-year-old admitting to being on
Mm.
steroids, and you could
See, that's
tell.
so bad. I mean, I will say I started way too early and I can't go back, so I'm just going to share my experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot that you guys don't see that I want you guys to understand. There is so much that you guys don't see, and you're never going to see because the people that it is happened to don't want you to see it. And again, that's up to them to decide. That's if, they want to protect their peace. Just realize that there's so much that goes on behind the scenes of PED use and the fitness industry that you are not seeing. And it's going to be very hard for you to understand without real life experiences. And you're not going to get a lot of that out there. You're not going to find a lot of that on YouTube. So just keep that in mind when you're, considering doing stuff like this, that it's not what you see on Instagram or TikTok at
Of
all.
course, yeah. You're
That's
just going to
like,
see that picture. You're not going to see what that woman dealt through or how long it's been since she's been on her period or what pain she's in or you know what I mean? How she doesn't like to talk because her voice has changed. You know what I mean? And I've dealt
yeah,
with, I'd say that's the hardest thing too. It's the most apparent, but it's the hardest thing is sounding like you've taken steroids. You know what I mean? So that's something that people need to be ready for those consequences.
yeah. And the Instagram photos, that's about 15% of the life of somebody that takes PEDs. And
Yeah,
like you and a handful of other people of other women have decided to, come on and share their story. There's tons and tons that don't want to share their story, so
for sure. Yeah.
putting that out there. And so I appreciate you coming on here and
Yeah, well,
being
thank you for
open.
having me. It
Yeah,
was fun to just reflect on things and also how much I've grown since starting taking stuff versus coming to a point of like starting and then doing like heavier dosages and then like doing very little, you know what I mean? And, trying to always be smart about it, which obviously, like I said, I'm still young. I could have something pop up tomorrow that is from years of taking stuff.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's nice to just reflect on especially different ways of thinking. So,
yeah. Well, thank you
yeah.
for being
Thank
on.
you.
And
Yeah.
you guys, I'm gonna link her info in the description box. And yeah, I will see you
Yeah.
guys on the next one.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.